Well, g'day team, and welcome back to episode, 4 of our series Veterans. And this week what we're going to be talking about is the Department of Veteran Affairs. The reason we're talking about this is to give a bit of information about the Department of Veteran Affairs, have a talk about how it works, what it is, and things like that. At the end of this episode, hopefully, not only are veterans going to have a bit of a different view of the Department of Veteran Affairs or an idea, but also so are the families, friends, and the civilian population. So let's have a look at the Department of Veteran Affairs. And look, this is not about bagging them out. This is not a hate session. It's nothing of the sort. This is about just identifying different things and maybe identifying and explaining things in a different way so people look at things a little bit differently. Now look, I've had the pleasure of lecturing for the Department of Veteran Affairs over the years for different things, Invictus, about how they deal with veterans and about mental health and that. And there's something I've got to lead in with is that, you know, the staff at the Department of Veteran Affairs, right, are there to help. They really do want to help. They're trying their best. But there is a number of issues that stand in their way. And what we're going to do is have a look at a few of those issues. Now, another point that I have to make about the department also is that we here in Australia are extremely lucky in compared to some other countries. Our repatriation system, our Department of Veteran Affairs, in comparison to some other organisations or how veterans are looked after in other countries, we are by far one of the best. And that really needs to be kept in mind because you hear a lot of bad press about DVA, and don't get me wrong, it has its faults, but at the same time, it isn't that bad in comparison to some others. So let's have a look at a few issues. And there's a couple of facts that I wanted to discuss with you about DVA and Defence and their interaction. And the first of all is that Defence, should look after veterans. That's a viewpoint out there. Defence should look after it. People, the Defence Force is a task-driven machine. It's a task-driven organisation. It kills people. It helps people in the aid of the civil community. It does many varying jobs. Now, don't for a minute think that I'm not saying that the Defence Force do not have an obligation to their people. Of course they do. They have an obligation to keep them safe, to train them effectively and do all those things. As well as that, they also have the responsibility to retrain or help people get back to work if applicable and if able within the Defence Force. Now, if you sit there and think, should people in the Defence Force should all get equal opportunity, blah, 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 blah. Look, it doesn't work that way. The Defence Force requires a certain level of fitness, a certain level in a number of arenas. And to downgrade those jeopardises the lives of our men and women that serve this country. And I'm sure no one out there wants that. So if it's not Defence's problem to look after veterans, whose is it? Well, that's where the Department of Veteran Affairs comes in, DVA. And, what should happen is basically that, when we leave the Defence Force, the Department of Veteran Affairs should pick us up. And that hasn't happened in the past as fluently as we would like to see. And hopefully, look, it is getting better, okay? They are communicating now. Let's think about the Department of Veteran Affairs. And one of the things that people say, they should care. Well, what a load of crap. And why I say that, look, and that sounds extremely horrible and aggressive. Right, the Department of Veteran Affairs, yes, they should show empathy to their soldiers or to their customers. They should show empathy to the families. They should be respectful. They should be all of those things. But to assume or expect the Department of Veteran Affairs to care is unrealistic. The Department of Veteran Affairs is a government organisation. It is like a big insurance company. It is bound by both rules, legislation, laws, everything. So again, the people that work at DVA, certainly they should have empathy and they should have a level of care for their customers. However, to say, DVA should care about my claim and should care about this is absolutely unrealistic. The Department of Veteran Affairs, as it is like a big insurance company. If we as veterans start to look at it that way, okay, it takes the personal out of it. And that's the next point we're going to talk about. When we engage with the Department of Veteran Affairs, one of the biggest problems and downfalls of the veteran is their expectation of what should happen, how they should be treated. It's also the expectation of family members and friends and all the rest of it. Now, don't get me wrong, and don't go lynching me up here. I'm not saying that Department of Veteran Affairs don't have a way to go here or some work to do in that department. However, as the customer, our expectations need to be realistic. Our expectations about how they do business needs to be realistic. And that's what we want to talk about here, is actually the expectations of the veteran when we engage with them, the expectation of the family. And why that's so important is if we can understand that the Department of Veteran Affairs is a government section that is like an insurance company, that we have to jump through hoops to get certain things, and what we're entitled to and whatever the case may be, and we make it a little bit sterile, it will be less of an aggravation to the veteran to start with, and less people are going to get abused. Now, don't get me wrong again, as I said before, he's all going lynching me, okay? I understand that there is downfalls and shortfalls within that, and how veterans and people interact and all the rest of it. My point here is that the department is an organisation set up, bound by legislation, and our expectation of veterans should be realistic when we go in there. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't affect us, because let's face it, when we engage with the Department of Veteran Affairs, usually as where we are in our mental state at times, or our physical state, is not the best. And that has to be noted. And once again, I come back to this idea of empathy in regards to the people on the ground that are dealing with our veterans. Now, you know, I've said a couple of things there and people go, oh, that's not really... But let's have a look at, you know, I suppose on DVA's side of things that create problems. And one of them is outdated legislation. That can cause trouble. Outdated legislation that does not fulfil its requirements for the modern veteran. Lack of understanding of DVA staff. Look, I've had the opportunity, which has been exceptional, to work with the Department of Veteran Affairs staff and talk to them about, you know, how to deal with veterans that are aggressive and upset and all the rest of the stuff. But the more that we can educate the Department of Veteran Affairs staff, the better off they will be able to do their job. Unrealistic expectations due to misunderstanding on the veterans' part. I just mentioned that. Our expectations of veterans, we have to look at it. And I know it's not easy. Look, don't for a minute think that I'm saying this is easy and that, you know, it's going to happen straight away or anything. What I'm just saying is these are some of the problems we face. Exacerbation of problems due to slow and difficult processing procedures, and literally they are the things that can lead to catastrophic outcomes. Now, how do we fix this? And this is the problem we're faced with. Streamlining the system and all of those things, you know, we've been talking about this for years. And for a number of years, we've been told, oh, you know, it's got to do this and we've got to go through this and jump through this hoop and government and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to take the government to task on that. I disagree. You know, it's really, really been shown with this COVID-19, the power that the government really does have to actually change things, okay, and make things happen quickly. So I say to the government, you need to pull your head out of your rear end and stop hiding behind bureaucracy and make things change now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Get it happening. You've proven you can do it with COVID-19. Let's get on board now and let's prove it with veterans. You've already got the Royal Commission happening, and that's going to turn out a whole this bundle of things. All right. A few suggestions I have. God forbid, everyone says. There's two things that we could do instantly that would make life easier for veterans when they discharge from the military. First of all, as soon as you discharge from the military, you're issued a white card for all medical conditions. Defence caused or otherwise, irrelevant. These people have served the country. The least we can do as a community is give them the opportunity to get free medical help. We've got Medicare, let's do this for our veterans. Give them a white card. All right? So that's one very, very simple way of alleviating a number of levels of stress for the veteran. Right, older veterans, all they need to do, look, is provide their regimental number. It can be cross-checked with military records, and bang, same deal. Now listen, if these two things were able to happen, I would argue that I reckon 50, if not more % of problems that the Department of Veteran Affairs has, okay, and veterans have, would be eliminated, because you wouldn't have veterans having to jump through all these hoops to get recognised or get treated for conditions that should be treated anyway. Rightio. Now, again, these things are complex. I understand that. And the question of compensation comes up. If the veteran already has a white card and is getting medical treatment, their next step is then, if they wish to, speak to the Commonwealth about getting a gold card or a TPI or a special rate pension or whatever the case may be, that's then a little bit more achievable. Right? Some of the work's already done, and it allows them then to engage with organisations, and I've mentioned Defence Care again. They have some outstanding advocates on the ground, paid people, not volunteers, and don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-volunteer, but the legislation now requires people that are paid to do their job and get it happening. All right. So, again, we've got a couple of things there. Now, I know, look, these are very simple viewpoints and ideas how to fix the problem. But as I said, team, you know, the government has the power to change things quickly. They've already proven that. How about they just get on board and look after our veterans? Rightio. Look, the other thing, and I really wanted to bring this to the point sort of before I close, and that is, you know, this is about education. This is about both sides coming together and working at amicable outcomes. I may have sounded a bit harsh on DVA, and I'm not here to bash DVA. As I've said, there's some outstanding people who work for the Department of Veteran Affairs, but it is a big insurance company that the government runs. Simple as that. So we need to come to terms with that. We need to understand that, and then the government needs to step up and actually look after our veterans instead of just hiding behind legislation, because it's an absolute joke. Alrighty, team, look, in closing, as I've said, this has not been about bashing DVA. This is about opening the questions to, opening the conversation to hard questions and putting it out there. You know, giving a viewpoint that maybe isn't very popular, but if it gets people talking and people thinking, hey, we might win. People, during this episode, we've covered the Department of Veteran Affairs. I hope you've enjoyed it. The reason we've done this is so you might have a bit better understanding of the Department of Veteran Affairs and, okay, how it works, and a few of my thoughts on that. Big shout out, obviously, to Steve Centipento and Radio 2CC in Capital Radio Canberra. Right, make sure you tune into them on Friday mornings at 7:05, where I have a chat to Steve about the upcoming episodes. And make sure you get on our YouTube channel, the Aussie Outdoor Blokes, and check out all the episodes of this series, Veterans. Again, team, this is Scott signing off from the Shed 2.0. Thanks for joining us.